I Run on Spare Parts is a podcast that explores the powerful world of organ transplants through real stories, real people, and real hope. Each episode dives deep into the human side of medicine, celebrating survival, second chances, and the connections that make life possible. From donors to recipients, families to medical professionals, every voice reminds us what it means to truly live and to keep running on spare parts.
Welcome to the I Run on Spare Parts podcast. I'm Milagro.
And I'm Terrence.
Today we're going to be talking about why we started the podcast.
Yeah, why we started.
And then I'm going to go into my story and what happened and how I decided that, I run on spare parts is going to be something really cool for us.
Hey, I really pay close attention because she has some very good information out there for you, for somebody who's been through the same thing. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. So what made me start this podcast is because I was like, look, hey, Terrence. And he was like, hey, Millie. I was like, basically, I just wanted to be like, what do you think about starting a podcast about us having to have kidney transplants? And he was like, I think that's a great idea.
That's an awesome idea.
I've been wanting to do this for a while now, but I was in school. So basically I had to finish school first, and then I could focus on starting a podcast called I Run on Spare Parts. What is a spare part? A spare part is somebody else's body part that's now living in my body.
Wow. And I currently have 4 of them.
Terrence has 4 kidneys. It's nothing wrong with having 4 kidneys.
Actually, I got 5 spare parts when you think.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Well, we're gonna get into his story too. He'll tell you all about his first. You can't tell him all about everything.
Oh yeah,
I can't tell him about the first time because you got to tune in. So when I first decided that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I asked Terrence if he would join me on this venture, and he was so kind to be like, yeah, because I was like, I think I'll be boring by myself.
That's funny.
I don't feel like people would want to hear what I have to say.
That's funnier.
So here we are. So let me just go into what happened to me. I'm not going to go like way back, like way back. But growing up, I was always taught to clean my plate. And that is something that probably has me in this current situation because I was always taught to clean my plate. Do I fault my parents? No, not at all. I have what they call focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. Yes, that is a very, very long word. It is acronym in FSGS, which is an autoimmune disease, which I had no idea that I had that in the first place. But, 1 in 9 people don't know they have chronic kidney disease.
Wow.
And so that's something that you can definitely look into if you ever have had kidney disease. But so I'll go back, not way back, because I won't tell my age. Even though I don't look old, I'm old enough.
Hilarious.
So
For a youngster. Anyway.
Right, for a youngster. When I was 17 years old, I started having trouble with having high blood pressure. High blood pressure is one of the telltale signs that there may be something possibly wrong with your kidneys. Not always like not always a beacon, but if you're starting to have high blood pressure and you don't have any other signs or symptoms, it's definitely something to look into. So I had that happen when I was 17, and I had something called obesity.
That old lady again.
Obesity, but it was obesity. And all they would tell me is that I needed to lose weight and that would help my blood pressure go down. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay. At 17, yes, I'm thinking that I need to lose a whole lot of weight. That's not something that was really that crossed my mind. So fast forward, I go to college. College is a place where you like to eat, drink, and be merry.
For sure.
I had the best time in college. I also had the worst time in college.
I think that's every college student sentiment, but go ahead.
So by the time I turned 21, I had blood pressure that was at stroke level. It was maybe it was always high, and I always had a headache, and I could never quite figure out what was wrong. Until one day I went to the infirmary and I was like, look, something is wrong. My head is hurting. I can't quite seem to get my life together. And they were like, we're going to need to send you to a nephrologist. And I was like, what is a nephrologist? I had no idea what a nephrologist was. And as a matter of fact, I thought I had cancer. Did I have cancer? No. I just needed to go see a kidney doctor because that's what a nephrologist is. It's somebody who specializes in the kidneys.
Right.
So I went to the nephrologist and they were like, we need to do a kidney biopsy. I'm like, but I'm only 21 years old. So I go and get a kidney biopsy. And it comes back with that very long word that I said to you guys in the beginning, FSGS.
Mm-hmm.
It was devastating, to say the least.
It's always devastating when they come back with words you can't pronounce, and you're looking at them like, okay, what is that?
Yeah, and so when that happened to me, I was like, basically, let me call my family. Point. I need to figure out what do I need to do to kind of combat this. I didn't know what to do. I was in college. I had like really bad trouble, not only with my kidneys, but my tonsils swelled up and wouldn't go down either. I had to have them removed. All this is going on around the same time. And so I'm just like, I don't know what to do here. How can I fix this? Is it something that I did wrong? What was the consequences of having chronic kidney disease? Because at this point I'm 21 and I hadn't had my children yet, but they were closely behind. I really contemplated, like, what does this mean for me? My own mortality came into play because I was like, I don't really even know what kidney disease is and what the ramifications and all go into kidney disease. You know what I mean? And then fast forward to I get pregnant with my son. I move back to Atlanta. I meet my doctor and they're like, yeah, your kidneys is really bad. I have preeclampsia, which is high blood pressure in pregnancy. I had all the things that said my kidneys was not doing well, so much so to the point that my son was born at 32 weeks, which is premature. He had to stay in the NICU for quite some time. I was blessed to be able to have my son because having chronic kidney disease and a kidney GFR, which is your glomerular filtration rate, down to in the 30s, which is considered stage 3 at that point, chronic kidney disease. If you don't know the stages, we will definitely have like a little informational about the stages of kidney disease, but we just want you to get to know us. So I'll be saying a lot of different terms that I'm going to break down to the best of my ability so that you will understand what I mean when I'm talking about chronic kidney disease, the stages that they are, and how it affected me. After I had my son, I had to, so let's rewind. Prior to having my son, they were like, look, we need to put you on high dose steroids.
Oh, wow.
Because your body, we're going to try to slow it down. So one of the things that they try nowadays, see, they have, I mean, back in the day, because nowadays they have so many other things that they can try. Right. But the first line was high dose steroids. Once that looked like an elephant, I had every side effect that you could possibly have with steroids. I had the moon face. I had excessive hunger. I was like, I mean, they said obesity was one of the things that was causing my kidneys to not do well. And I just kept eating.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can relate. I'll get into my story, but I can relate because I remember one time after I started the steroids that they put me on, I got hungry and started to eat. And I remember a friend of mine say, hey, man, just going to have to make better choices. Well, when you're hungry, you don't care what choice you make. You just want it.
I just want the food. And I want the food that tastes the best.
Best, right.
So when I say that I want the food that tastes the best, I ate burritos. I ate pizza. I ate whatever I thought tasted good. I was eating it because that's what I wanted. Popeyes, KFC, all the bad things. Like I probably had clogged arteries too. Um,
No,
that's one of the things. Honesty, that's true. I probably had clogged arteries.
and that's one of the things that, we don't necessarily think about when you're younger. You just eat whatever's in front of you. And like you said, when you were a smaller kid or smaller or a younger person, when you sit at the table, they don't tell you to eat till you're satisfied. They tell you to eat till all your food is gone. And then most of the time, they don't ask you how much food you want. They give you what they think you need. You need,
And you better eat it.
and you better eat it all too, because you're not coming back asking for
Seconds if you don't eat it, and you're not getting your dessert.
Correct. And which was probably some things that I've seen over the last few years, parents change in their mindset in doing. Now, we can't fault our parents for doing it because they wanted us to be nourished and nutritioned. But they just had very little information, more than likely like the information that we had. They were raised a certain way. They were raised to cook food a certain way. And so unfortunately, we inherited some of those bad behaviors, and we were really good at preparing that type of food.
Absolutely, yes. I love to eat, and my grandpa used to call me his cooking lady. So I could definitely tell you that I was always in the kitchen. So once I was on the steroids, I was like, I can't do this. So I was a bad patient, and I decided that I wasn't going to take the steroids no more because I was big. And I left and moved back to Atlanta while I was pregnant with my son. Do not do what I do because I was, like I said, a non-compliant patient. That's probably a lot of what exacerbated some of the things that happened to me as well. Right. So I had my son, and he did well after he got out the NICU. He's a big kid now. Like, you would never even know he was premature. And then I got pregnant again with my daughter. At this point, it was like, and by the way, I did sit in nephrologist when I was pregnant too. They was like, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And I had to be on all this medication, methyl dopa, like a bunch of medicines that I'd be like, look, I can't keep taking all this. I was dizzy. I didn't want to go to work. I couldn't really do much of anything, especially when I was pregnant with my daughter. They were talking about, look, your kidneys are so bad that we may have to put you on dialysis while you're pregnant with your daughter. And there are a lot of risks that come with that. I could lose the baby. Praise the Lord that I did not. But unfortunately, she too was born prematurely. Because of my body not being able to sustain the pregnancy and my kidneys were failing while I was pregnant, they made the decision to go ahead and take her because one day my pressure was just so high. It was like 200 over 100 and something. And they had to put me on magnesium, which magnesium kind of keeps you from having a seizure, IV, in order to keep me from having a seizure because my blood pressure was so high. Right. I was eclamptic and there was really no other options. So they were like, look, we got to take this baby now. And I can remember that I had a C-section and they took the baby and I still was terrible even afterwards. I had to wind up, like, I had so much stuff happen, especially when it comes to like pregnancy and kidneys work hand in hand, especially with the excessive fluid. I just realized that now looking back, there was so many things that I was doing wrong, but I was young. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know. I was only 22 years old.
And with one of the things that I look at though is that what most people don't realize is that they call it the silent killer because there's rarely any symptoms, right? You know, when you're young, you get a headache. What do? You take an aspirin, you take some Tylenol or ibuprofen or whatever it is to it, and you say, I'm gonna keep pushing. We don't think that headache could be a sign of something more serious. We just automatically feel like, I got this. And for the most part, because of the American diet, I'm just gonna leave it at that. That's I
ain't say that.
I said it. No, but because of the way we are taught to eat, we sometimes cause more damage to our body than we realize. And then a lot of times we ignore some symptoms that we shouldn't ignore, and then it's too late. That's one of the reasons why I believe she and I felt so strongly about starting this podcast because we want to help somebody not have to go through the things that we went through.
That is very true. So I had my daughter. She wound up having a genetic disorder and she passed away when she was 5 years old. It's not something that I talk about on a regular basis. It is something that has shaped me into a person who likes to have a little bit more compassion towards people who have children with special needs, because I had to deal with that. Shortly after she passed away in 2014, 2 years later, my kidneys were in the toilet.
Wow.
And when I say in the toilet, I had like a GFR, which is the glomerular filtration rate, of 20.
Wow.
My doctor was like, so about this time, we're going to need to go ahead and put a fistula in your arm. And I'm like, what's a fistula? And I didn't know what a fistula was. I had no idea. I mean, and I was in the medical field, but still, I wasn't specializing in kidneys, so I had no idea what a fistula was.
Right.
It is a venous access to where when you hook up to dialysis, it cleans your blood. It is mine in particular. Some people can have a graft, and then some people can have a fistula,
Right.
and then some people can have a port where they do peritoneal dialysis, which is through the peritoneum of the abdomen. But I didn't pick any of those. I picked home hemodialysis. I'm not gonna lie, like that was just straight up. I was just like, I was a fluid abuser, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So he puts the fistula in. In 2016, and I was like devastated.
Wow.
I was so hurt. I was like, oh no, my arm is ugly. I don't want to look at it. It's ugly. I cried. I had a real internal, like, I was so distraught because I felt sickly at that point. I don't know how many of you can resonate with how I felt, but I felt sickly because then it was, now I have to wait for this thing in my arm to mature.
Wow.
Which can take 3 to 6 months. Yeah. You know how that goes.
Squeezing the ball.
Squeezing the ball.
Yeah.
Then you can't have any blood pressures or IV sticks and no type of blood draws in that arm, never ever, for the rest of your life.
Right.
My other arm has crappy veins.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Normally, so I went to a vascular surgeon. Shout out to my vascular surgeon because he did an awesome job. And so I went to the vascular surgeon and he was like, look, at first we're going to try to put it down here in your wrist, which is where most people go. If that don't work, we're going to put it right here in your arm. If that don't work, then I'm going to have to cut your whole arm open and put the fistula there. Can you guess which one I had to get?
Yes. The last one.
I'm like, these are little. So he was like, so I wake up and I'm like, oh, my arm is hurting so badly. It hurts us. I woke up and my whole arm is filleted, which is what he said he was going to have to do. So I'm on YouTube trying to figure out what type of surgery did I just have, or what type of surgery am I having? And as I looked up fistula surgeries, none of what I had ever came up. You know what I had to look up? Complicated fistula surgeries.
Oh wow.
And so that's literally how my fistula was put in. They cut me from my armpit to my elbow. They connected my brachial artery to my basilar vein. And that is how my fistula was created. It was to the point where I was like, I got a whole scar. I got a railroad track down my arm because he closed it up, not with sutures, just sewing it. No, he did staples. So I had staples from my armpit to my elbow.
Wow.
And of course, like I said, I'm a very special individual. So I did not have the most uncomplicated surgery. I decided that A couple hours after I was discharged, after I had my surgery, I just got a spring leak.
Oh, wow.
So my arm started bleeding. Like it was soaking through all of the gauze and the bandages that were on my arm when I had gone home. And it was just bleeding through. I was like, oh, I don't think it's supposed to look like this.
No, that's supposed to look like that. Not at all. Not at all.
Back to the hospital, Terrence. I had to go back to the ER and I was like, hey, I was just here earlier and they did this surgery on my arm and it's bleeding.
Yeah, it's bleeding bad.
It's bleeding bad. Now, when I say that God is good, I don't know how many of y'all are believers, but I know Terrence and myself are. And I went to the hospital and my surgeon just happened to be walking through the ER.
Oh, wow. This happened, right?
This happened. I was like, Doc, what you doing here? Actually, he was really upset because he was like, who did this to you? Because they just like wrapped it up with some gauze. He was like, this is wrong. He took it all off. And he was like, who did this? I was like, I don't know. The man came in and said that he had to stop the bleeding. And he just put some extra gauze on it. So I said, are you always in the ER? He's like, no, I'm never walking through the ER. I don't know why I'm down here.
Wow. That was why he was down here.
Yes, the Lord had conveniently sent him to the ER for me. And I will forever say that and ever believe it.
And I believe that too, because, you know, throughout my life, there have been times, even here recently, where things lined up so perfectly that it had to be God that did it. And like I said, I don't know. I don't know who believes and don't believe, but I believe. And to me, that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to get comments from people who don't, but it's okay.
Absolutely.
It's okay. Especially in a country, we live in a free country.
Yeah. Freedom of
speech. And for the most part, the way I believe, I don't believe that God is going to force you to believe, you know, anyway.
Yeah.
So,
no,
but
behold, I stand at the door and knock.
And you have to answer it, right? Just let me in. And that's the thing about being in the position that we're in, especially one that navigates and talks to people about certain things. And I am going to enjoy being on this podcast with you, I'm sure, discussing some of the points that we want to make, and hopefully we'll be going to be beneficial to a lot of people. Absolutely. Now, you know, I don't know if you can tell, we like to have fun a little bit too.
Of course.
So we like to joke on ourselves. We like to joke on each other. Mm-hmm. And you probably get a lot of that during this podcast, because having a serious critical illness, you can't take everything in life serious. Now take your critical illness serious and absolutely. Don't do like we did at the beginning and first of all, ignore some of the symptoms. Second of all, may have not followed all the directions to the T.
Right.
But we learned how to do this thing in a way that we didn't have to stop living.
Mm-hmm. So now let me finish telling you what happened. Okay. So he came into my room. He removed several of the staples, cauterized with this little cautery pen that they had in the ER. He was like, cauterized what was bleeding, re-stapled my arm, and then pretty much wrapped my arm from my shoulder to my wrist to make sure that I had continuous compression.
Right.
Eventually it healed up. He took out the staples. Fast forward to 2020, I went to see my nephrologist, who I've seen my nephrologist ever since before my son was born. So they've been with me for forever.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah, I've been seeing them for forever. They know me. That's why they just call me by my. That day I went to go visit my nephrologist. He told me that my kidney function, which is the GFR, it had gone down to 15. 15 is kind of like that magic number where they're like, yeah, okay, we got to do something at this point. And he was, Porter, we're going to have to start you on dialysis. Now, mind you, I had the fistula in my arm for several years now, so it was mature, but it had never been used. And so it never was used. So I went over to where I went, my dialysis center, and right, my dialysis center.
I'm laughing for a reason. I'm not laughing at her, but it's funny. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the fact that we knew each other and you were going, never mind. I can't get into that right now, but go ahead.
I went to my dialysis center, and my nephrologist was like, look, I think that you would benefit from doing home hemodialysis.
Mm-hmm.
I was terrified. What terrified me the most was the fact that I had to stick myself with a harpoon.
Mm-hmm.
And I say harpoon because the needle is huge.
Very big.
It is like a 15 gauge needle. And I don't know if anybody out there, if you're on dialysis, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But that needle looks like the size of my pinky finger.
Right, I was about to say, it's like the size of an actual writing pen. It goes into your arm. But anyway.
Oh, no, seriously. It's not funny.
No.
And so I was just like, I don't want to stick myself. And the nurse, she was so nice. She was like, oh, you don't have to stick yourself the first couple of times. I'm going to do it for you. It's not fun.
No.
It's painful. And my fistula, even though I had had it for a long time, hadn't been used. So It was a little bit, what should I say? It was not very patent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could feel the thrill, which you always want to feel the thrill.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you can feel the blood kind of rushing through it. I can hear it. I can feel it.
I scared people with mine.
What do you be doing? How you be doing?
They'll come up and say, hey, Miss Williams, how you doing? I say, hey, how are you doing? I say, something's wrong with my arm. Can you touch it? And they'll touch it and jump. But that was just me.
See, that's wrong.
It is wrong. It's wrong.
You would honestly take the stethoscope and let people listen to it. It sounds like a water hose.
It does. And the funniest thing about that part right there is that when I first had mine, I love to sleep like this.
You ain't supposed to sleep on it.
You're not. So that's number one. But then you can't go to sleep on it because you hear it going the whole time until I'm starting to figure out, okay, where am I gonna put my arm at now?
What am I gonna do with this now?
Right, exactly.
I'm sitting here with this thing on my arm, and it's just I can't get rid of it. I cannot get rid of it. So I started dialysis, and that was a journey all in itself. Did not want to cannulate myself. I was like, I asked my nephrologist, can I get some numbing cream, please? And I would literally let the numbing cream sit on my arm for like an hour.
Right.
Before I would cannulate. My fistula had some problems. I wound up getting a clot the size of an egg in my fistula. I wind up having to get it like cleaned out several times because sometimes you can have like little bends, which mine is kind of curve shaped, so it has some bends in it already. And when they would stick it, it would have so much pressure that there was one time, this is not funny, but there was one time that the needle actually like shot out of my arm and there was like blood squirting all over the room. That was probably like my son's most traumatic event.
Oh, wow.
Really good. He came, he helped me. He held the gauze on my puncture site where I had to hold for 10 minutes so that I could make sure that this was all before I got my gift.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, Lord, I can't do this dialysis no more. And I feel really guilty every time I say this because I was only on dialysis for 6 months.
Wow.
God is good.
Yes.
I feel guilty every time. I just feel like, so many people are on dialysis for way longer. And I'm like, I can't do it. And I think it was because I had grown tired. There'll be days that I would actually skip dialysis treatments because I just didn't want to do it. And I'm just being real with you. Should you ever do that? No. But that's how I felt. I was tired. At first, when I first started doing dialysis, I didn't realize how sick I was. Right. Because when they started cleaning my blood, I was like, oh my God.
Where is this energy coming?
I feel wonderful.
Right.
Let me go out and run a marathon.
Right.
I did not run a marathon. But I felt like I could go out and run a marathon. I felt fantastic. Couldn't you say the same?
Right.
And I did dialysis for 6 months. The day I got my kidney transplant went a little bit something like this. So I went to work. I was still working as much as I could. I went to work. I was grateful for my job that I had at the time. And I was on my way home after, because I'm also a certified instructor for like first aid CPR. So I was training everybody at work. I was like, let me get myself together because I wasn't ready. And when you're preparing for a kidney transplant, you gotta be ready. You gotta have your little go bag, and you want like at the basics. You want the toothbrush, some pajamas, and stuff like that. Your toiletries. So you take that bag to the hospital. And you just want to keep it's kind of like a pregnancy bag, but it's a kidney transplant bag or it's a transplant bag because we don't discriminate. We talk about running on spare parts.
Correct.
So this particular day, I was like, all right, Lord, after I certify these people, which I love my people from work, after I certify these people, I am going to be like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this no more. I'm ready to have my kidney transplant.
Right. For sure. For sure.
And so after work, I certified everybody at work in sessions. And then I was on my way home. Guess what happened?
Got a call.
I got the phone call. They were like, hi, we want you to be on standby. Now, standby technically means that the kidney's not for me. But if the person that's ahead of me doesn't come or take the kidney, then they will give that kidney to me.
To you. Right.
I was like, cool. They was like, still go about your daily routine. You know what that meant? That means I had to go home and do dialysis, which I did not want to do. I was like, and so I go home. I was like, oh, wait, I did not have my bag ready. So I'm like, I need to go and get some pajamas. I walk into Target, pajamas right there. And this was like around like right before Christmas time. It was actually right before Thanksgiving too. And I was like, oh, I need a suitcase. So I go right over to Ross and there were the suitcases.
Wow.
Everything just kind of fell right into place, like how I needed it to fall into place.
Right.
Then I went home, set up my dialysis machine because like I said, I did home hemodialysis. And I set up my machine and I put everything on and I was getting ready to cannulate. And I was like, let me just check my phone because I didn't have a watch that would tell me that my phone was ringing at the time. So I was like, let me just check my phone.
Oh.
I was like, oh. And they called right back. They were like, hey, we got a kidney for you. Can you come down and get it?
Oh,
I was like, ecstatic. Ecstatic. And that was November 14th, 2020.
Oh, wow.
The day that has changed my life for the better.
Forever be etched. I understand that.
Forever be etched. So I went down, I got my kidney transplant. I didn't have to do dialysis ever again. And the Lord was so gracious and honored my request to not do dialysis ever again. And I haven't been on dialysis ever since. And it'll be 5 years this November 14th that I have been off of dialysis. So I just thank my kidney donor. I do not know who they are. And I do not know his or her family. But I just want to thank them for the gift that they've given me, the second lease on life. I would not be here. I mean, I would still be here because I would still be doing dialysis. But I would not be here living the life that I'm able to lead now if they had not been so gracious to give that to me.
Right.
So I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of background on me and how I got here and why this podcast means so much to me. It is like my little baby. I have been wanting to do this. I've been wanting to share education. I've been wanting to share my story. And then I met up with this dope individual named Terrence who... he happened to be going through the same thing. And stay tuned to our next episode because it's going to be all about him, where he goes into telling you how he got his kidney transplant and what led up to it. This is the I Run on Spare Parts podcast, and we can't wait to see you guys next week.
Peace.